Hi, I'm Hannah and this is my presentation on the human digestive system. I'll start with the alimentary canal. So the alimentary canal is a tube from the mouth throughout the body to the anus. It's about 8 to 10 centimeters long and it's where digestion happens. Alongside it is also the accessory organs such as the liver, the gallbladder, the pancreas and the mouth and tongue. Food is broken down by the system into smaller molecules so that the body can absorb and get nutrients from it. The accessory organs are alongside the canal, but they are not part of it, but they do help with the digestive system. So let me just go through each part. The mouth is where the process of digestion starts. The salivary glands are located in the mouth and they create saliva which starts to break down the food. As the food we put into our mouth has to be broken down into smaller molecules so our body can get the nutrients from it. So this is when this starts. The first enzyme that we come across is tyalin, that assists with starch digestion, and that is in our mouth. The process of chewing is a voluntary action, but then when it starts passing through to the pharynx, it becomes involuntary as the pharynx pushes it down the esophagus. It also has an epiglottis, which blocks your windpipe during the act of swallowing to ensure food goes down the right pipe. Here is labelled the esophagus. The esophagus helps push food down further the canal. This process uses peristalsis, which creates wave-like movements which pushes the food down. Next is the liver. The liver is where the bile is produced and is an accessory organ which I'll explore much later in the presentation. And the gallbladder is part of the liver. Next is the stomach. The stomach is a part of the canal and is not an accessory organ. This is where food is mixed with an acidic liquid. The stomach has a mucus protective layer so it does not digest itself. And the acid helps break down the food into that smaller product that eventually will be absorbed by our body. Next here is the pancreas. This is another accessory organ which helps regulate blood sugar in the body. It produces enzymes that help with chemical digestion, which breaks down the food into smaller molecules and proteins that our body can digest. I'll explore more of the chemical digestion later in the presentation. After this is the small intestine. The small intestine is part of the canal and is not an accessory organ. It is 6 to 7 meters long and supports digestion. This is where most of the nutrients from food are absorbed. The villi and the microvilli in the small intestine increase absorption, which I will go through in my histology slide. Finally, there is the large intestine. The large intestine is 1.5 meters in length and is thicker than the smaller intestine. Vitamins are absorbed into the body here as well, and then it prepares leftover food to be made into feces and to leave the body through the anus. The large intestine also absorbs water to help eliminating the feces. So that is the alimentary canal. Next, as I previously spoke about, we have mechanical digestion and chemical digestion. I will start here with mechanical digestion. The first most obvious part of my mechanical digestion would be chewing of the food in your mouth with your teeth. It happens in a few other places in the body, but our mouth with our teeth chewing the food is where it first starts. It starts to break the food down. It also is where the first part of the chemical digestion starts, but I'll talk about that one in the next slide. Swallowing using our larynx and esophagus is also the second part. Finally, the stomach, where the mixing of the gastric acid with the food is another example of mechanical digestion. Then we have chemical digestion. Chemical digestion is where the enzymes which are made from proteins break down the nutrients from food. However, we can only absorb nutrients from food when they are in micronutrient form. So we need those enzymes to break these down. So on my presentation here, I have carbs, fats, and proteins. So these all have a particular enzyme that helps break them down into these. So proteins get broken down into amino acids, fats get broken down into glycerol and fatty acids, and carbs get broken down into glucose. This is because these ones are the only ones that our body can use. They can't use them in these forms. So these are the enzymes that help break them down. So fats have the enzyme lipinase, carbs have the enzyme aminolase, and proteins have the enzyme protease. Mechanical digestion is really important. The mouth is the first place where this happens, and the enzyme aminolase, which starts to break down the carbs in our mouth when we eat food, breaks them down. The saliva has this enzyme in it and it starts to break down the carbs. The stomach is where the enzyme protease for protein starts to break them down, but most importantly, the pancreas is where the fat-breaking enzyme lipinase is produced, and this is the only place in the body where this is produced, so that is why the pancreas is so important. Otherwise, these fats would not be broken down and our body wouldn't be able to absorb any nutrients from them. The pancreas also creates other enzymes, but it is the only place that the fat-breaking enzyme is produced. In the enzymes, in the small intestine is where the majority of the chemical digestion is happening with these enzymes, so that is where a lot of them will help our body absorb these nutrients. Next, we have the liver. The liver is actually the second largest organ in our body, and it is also an accessory organ. It actually accounts for 2% of our body weight and has lots of other functions, but for digestion, it's very important as it forms bile and it stores this into the gallbladder. The bile emulsifies the fat and breaks it down into smaller pieces that the enzymes, which we previously spoke about, can break down to get the nutrients. It also, the bile is also important in helping absorb fat-soluble vitamins such as vitamin A. It also stores glucose to be used to build carbs later, and ensures the enzyme lipase absorbs better. This is histology of the stomach and the small intestine. Histology is the study of anatomy of the tissues under a microscope. They use different colors and dyes to identify different types of structures within the body, and it's really important because it shows us how the body works, and you can see it at a microscopic level, and you can see why things are happening the way they are. For example, if we look at this one here, this is the ileum, this is in the small intestine. So the ileum has these Peyer's patches, which are located here, which are very unique to the ileum. So you would know to identify this as the ileum because of these patches. You won't see them anywhere else, and these actually help fight off antigens. Then we also have another part of the small intestine, which is the duodenum, which is actually the start of the small intestine. This has a unique circular folds that increase the surface area for absorption, because as we know, this is where a lot of the nutrients are absorbed. They also have the villi and microvilli at the top, which helps absorb as well. Now the stomach is pictured here, and this looks very different to the small intestine. We have these gastric pits which lead down to the gastric glands, which is where the acid is produced in the stomach to help it churn. They also, all of these have 4 different layers. They have the mucosa, submucosa, mucellaris, and the seriosa. They all have those 4 layers. Circular folds in this really help with absorption, but we don't have that in the stomach. It's identifiable because of these unique gastric pits, which again, like these Peyer's patches, you wouldn't see anywhere else, so we know this is the stomach. The outside of the stomach has the layer serosa, which helps reduce friction and protects the stomach. Now I'm going to be talking about a balanced diet. There's 7 key requirements of the human diet, starting with water. Water is very important, and we cannot survive more than a few days without it. Our body can also not store water, so that's why it's important that hydration is key and we keep our water up. It's actually estimated to be 50 to 60% of the body. You would have heard a lot about protein, as it's extremely important. It is the building blocks of our body. It assists in healing, building muscle, and gets a lot of the functions that we have in our body going. Fats do get a lot of bad press, but there is good fats and extremely important. Fat is used for a lot of things, including energy storage, glucose production, which in turn produces ATP, which is the energy that processes every single body that the process does. Carbohydrates are a key source of energy. Human bodies require a large amount of energy to function. As we are learning, a lot of our body has a lot to do. They can also be broken into glucose, which, as previously mentioned, is an important part of producing ATP. Now, we also have fibre. Fibre helps with healthy digestion. It's actually estimated by the BBC that 90% of UK adults do not eat enough fibre. Fibre also assists with helping us feel full. Fibre comes in two types, soluble and non-insoluble. Soluble can digest in water, but insoluble cannot. All insoluble fibre consumed by the digestive system is excreted and assists the body in getting rid of waste. Fibre is also another type of carbohydrate. Now, having enough fibre in your diet can really help, and it can help reduce the risk of bowel cancer. Minerals help the body by helping essential functions such as supporting bone growth with calcium, maintain fluid levels, and they convert food into substances for the body to use. Finally, we have vitamins. Vitamins can be divided into two categories, fat-soluble and water-soluble. Fat-soluble can only be used if there is fat there, such as vitamin A, which is known to support the immune system and keep the skin healthy. There are also water-soluble vitamins such as vitamin C. This can only be used if there is water. Vitamin C helps develop and repair tissues. As I'll talk about in my next slide, you can have a lot of nutrition deficiencies if you do not get enough of them in your diet. So nutrition deficiencies can affect every part of your body. There are lots of common nutrition deficiencies which you would have heard about. A lot of them have similar symptoms such as feeling tired, anemia, having brain fog, being low of energy, your bones feeling weak, and having affected immune system, which means you get sick more often. One of the most common nutrition deficiencies is iron. This actually affects 25% of the population and can impact the immune system and cause you anemia, which makes you feel really weak. Women are actually more likely to have low iron because of our menstruation period. This is commonly fixed with iron supplements and ensuring you get enough of this in your diet. Vitamin D is also really important to your immune system, and a lack of this can lead to a weakened immune system, deformities and bone pain, as told by the NHS August 2020. Vitamin D is found in food, but only a small number of oily fish or egg yolks. It is most often gotten from the sun. However, people that live in countries that don't have a lot of sunlight, for example, in the northern hemisphere, countries such as Norway and Denmark and Sweden experience very low light in the winter. Although it has been found in a study by Hollick, PhD, in 2007, that even though countries such as the UAE, Australia, Saudi Arabia get a lot of sunlight, because of cultural factors such as religion, where you have a lot of your body clothed, or factors such as not getting sunburnt, where you would have a lot of sun cream on, actually affects the population from not getting enough vitamin D, and that 30 to 50% of these children and adults have vitamin D deficiency. So it is important we supplement that through oily fish and other food, and also food can be fortified with these vitamins. Ensuring you have a balanced and varied diet means you get a wide range of vitamins and your body preventing nutrition deficiencies. Finally, it is important to remember that a person's diet can be based on their personal circumstances. However, a balanced diet has been proven to help prevent diseases such as heart disease, diabetes type 2, bowel cancer and more. So this is what the NHS currently advises people in the UK. So first we have protein. The NHS currently recommends that we have 2 portions of fish a week and a limit of red meat or meat high in fat such as bacon. Pulses of beans are also a really good alternative to protein, for protein. It recommends that for carbohydrates, we have 1/3 of the food we eat in carbohydrates. It's also important to ensure that you are getting ones that are high in fibre to help with that digestion, and it is proved to help prevention of bowel cancer, which could be a dietary disease. Fruit and veg, getting a variety of fruit and veg is really important for the diet, as there are so many minerals and vitamins inside them, and getting a variety really helps. And there is also a lot of fibre in fruit and veg, that's really important, and the NHS recommends 30 grams of fibre a day. Dairy provides us with calcium and is a good source of protein, and the NHS recommends that you go for dairy that is low in fat and low in sugars. We require actually 700 milligrams of calcium a day, and again, this keeps our bones strong, and then reduces in older age that bone density failing. The oils, the NHS recommends we consume more unsaturated fats such as olive oil or sunflower, as these are healthier than saturated fats. And high fat food, we should limit the amount of high fat foods in our diet, as there is no benefit for our body. It also is an increased risk of obesity, which then can lead to other diseases like as heart disease and so forth. So there is no benefit of these. Diet can change based on where you're from, such as the Mediterranean diet has been well studied recently and has been proven that those from those countries actually who are eating the Mediterranean diet live longer. This diet consists of eating a lot of fish, olive oil, a wide range of fruit and vegetables with every meal, and limits eating of red meat. The term blue zone has been given to countries such as Italy or Greece, where people have lived longer lives, longer than 100 plus years, and researchers found this is mainly to do with their diet, as told by Blue Zone 2019. Diet can also change on personal beliefs such as personal religion. Muslims are unable to eat pork but can eat most other meats as they are prepared in the correct way, such as halal. So that's why it's important to get a varied diet and to help prevent diseases. Thank you, that was my presentation.